Hey everybody, welcome back to the most informative, a little bit boring real estate conversation about the Portland metro area. I'm David Caldwell. This is Katie Henderson. We are real estate brokers with Hillshire Realty Group at eXp Realty. We're going to be talking about all things Portland metro area housing stats. What's going on with new listings? What's going on with pending sales? What's going on with closed sales? Where's the opportunity for buyers? Where's the opportunity from sellers? Maybe some personal stories about some clients that we're working with right now, and just all things what is happening today if you are planning to buy real estate in the Portland metro area. So, Katie, where should we kick things off today?
Ooh, why don't you hit us with some numbers?
Hit you with some numbers. Well, let's start with the most important thing, which is what's going on with sales prices. I think that's what people really want to know. Houses are always selling. Some houses don't sell, but most houses do sell to come to the market. When people ask how the market is, I believe they're asking, are prices going up or down? And right now, there's two numbers. There is the 12-month rate of appreciation. That's the number that I like because it's a zoomed out version, because month over month, things can really change. So if we look at the last 12 months in the Portland housing market, the average sales price has increased by 1.1%, from $594,100 to $600,500. During the same time period, the median price is up 2.7%, from $525,500 to $539,900. Now, if we look year to date, if we look at January through May for the Portland metro area, the average sales price is down 4.5% from the same time period last year. So the 12-month trend is trending towards negative. If you've been watching this show, we've been watching that gradually come down. I expect that next month it'll be negative or mostly flat, but we probably are trending into negative pricing territory, even though the average sales price was 2.1% more expensive in May than it was in April. So I like that zoomed out picture. If, I think in October, Katie, we sat down and we said there's two scenarios. There's the scenario of 6.5% interest rates and above as an average for the year, which probably makes pricing fall around 5%. And then there's, if we can get on the other side of that 6.5% number and be closer to 6 or maybe the high fives, where we would likely still see housing price appreciation. And unfortunately, we are closer to 7% interest rates today than we are 6, which is creating some compression on housing prices.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, well, I'll ask you too, there's such high importance in pricing a property correctly from the beginning. And I know we've seen this on the buy side and on the listing side. It's could be detrimental if you price a property inappropriately. And it's so nuanced right now. What's been your experience with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we go to numbers and then we'll talk some experience, if we look at total active listings for the Portland metro area during the month of May, RMLS has us where we had 5,046 total listing opportunities that someone could have gone after. Well, in the same time period, there were only 2,379 pending sales, which we'll get back to. Hey, the ones that are going to sell are going to be the ones that are priced appropriately. In fact, we did a little study that showed, it's more than 90 days ago now, but a couple weeks ago we looked at the last 90 days. Homes that sold in 14 days or less, on average, were selling at 104% of list price, while homes that were on the market for 100 days or more were selling at 92% of list price. So pricing a home is important, I think, in any market, but we definitely don't have the margin for error we have today.
Yeah.
One thing I think most sellers aren't considering is what that mortgage payment is on a home. And I think that's really important when pricing today and looking at your opportunity to sell, is what would the mortgage payment be on that home you're trying to sell? and how many people can actually afford that mortgage payment? Because I don't really believe that people buy homes necessarily based on price. I think they buy them based on payment. When you
Yeah,
get into
agreed.
cash, certain it's price, but do people definitely, the average person, they're buying a home based mostly on payment more than they are price?
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I've even had the experience with a few buyers who come to me. It's usually first time or they haven't purchased a house in a while and they go, well, this is the price point that we're comfortable with. And by the time I send them to a lender and they have that conversation, they go, what? This is what high 6, 7% looks like every month. And sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but unfortunately, this is just the environment we're in right now. Now, the cash buyers I'm working with are in a little different position. Luckily, they're less affected um, by rates and market trends and things like that. But we're playing a different ball game right now than we were in previous years, certainly, and it requires expert navigation.
Yeah, I think when we look at, if we just stay on interest rates even for a second, interest rates are close to 7%, and that's creating the type of marketplace that we're in. If you have a 3% interest rate, or, on a property I own, I have 2.75% interest rate, it takes a lot to want to leave that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
people still want to buy homes, right? This year in Portland, we're going to have a pretty big low of closed sales, but we're still trending towards seeing around 25,000 sales. That is a lot of people moving that are still interested in purchasing. If you're a home seller, you have to know not every home is going to sell, but that's no different than in 2021. Every home that
Right.
listed for sale in 2021 did not sell. There's never a market where 100% of the inventory is absorbed. But this high interest rate environment that we're in, this is proved to be more than just a season. We have been in this high
Right.
interest rate market now for a year. And if you look at the Portland metro area, we actually still statistically have a housing shortage. Statistically, we're in a seller's market, an interesting seller's market, because there are homes that are still selling well above list price with low days on market at great prices. And then there's homes that are lagging, that are selling at a discount because they came out priced incorrectly. Or maybe, there isn't as much demand for that particular property because some intricacies that floor plan has, or the lot that it sits on, or, whatever the case may be. So let's transition over to new listings. So in the Portland metro area, during the month of May, we saw 3,240 new listings come to the market. The good news about that is pretty close to like historically normal levels that we would see. We generally see new listings between like 3,500 and 4,000 new listings during May. So that was a really nice increase. It was actually 22% more listings than what we saw in April. So that's nice. That's trending back towards normal. I think if you're a buyer in this marketplace, what you want are options.
Yeah.
And we outlined it earlier. There are about twice as many options for a buyer than there were pending sales. Doesn't mean you're not going to compete for a house. The best houses are getting multiple offer situations. The best houses are selling quickly. But the houses that are lagging on the market a little bit, that could be the opportunity for buyers. But, buyers need to look at inventory. Having a plethora of homes to choose between is very nice. And if you look at what we've had to deal with for the last couple of years, if you're a home buyer, is a lot fewer listings on the market than there are today. So if we just go and look by comparison to previous years, sorry. Do you want to give some filler content while I look? No, I'm joking.
Yeah. I was thinking about this from a seller's perspective too.
Uh-huh.
And I think many sellers, not all, are still in this mindset of, I can throw some pictures up online, put a sign in my yard, and the buyers are just going to come. And now, with increased inventory in the last few weeks and higher rates, you need to present your home in a way that is going to be intriguing to buyers. The pictures need to be solid. Maybe you have some video. Like, we're not playing this list it and it's going to sell in 12 hours game anymore. Like, this is a different environment, and sellers need to be aware of that. And I know it's hard to get feedback on your own home sometimes, but maybe when your agent has your listing appointment or does a walkthrough and suggests a couple tweaks, just remember that they're trying to net you the most money at the end of this sale.
Yeah, I think oftentimes people don't realize what we're selling, right? People think we're selling the equivalent of a car, right? Everyone's just buying houses, everyone's buying cars. Well, people may buy a house with the payment similar to how they would buy a car. They really consider that payment more than they consider the debt. But we're selling an asset that on average in the Portland metro area is $600,000. It doesn't matter if it's 400,000, doesn't matter if it's $1 million, doesn't matter if it's 1.3 million or 2 million. It's a large sum of money. It's a huge financial transaction. So let's go back to the number of active listings on the market. So if we look at May 2023, there were 5,046. If we go to 2022, it's 3,683. If we go to 2021, it was 3,376. So what's interesting is new listings year to date through May in Portland, we have the lowest number of new homes coming to the market literally in 30 years. Year to date, there have been 12,398 homes that have listed for sale. In 2019, same time period, 18,257. So it's quite the shortage from a normal market, but buyers still have more options to look at as far as standing inventory. So I think that's a really important thing. And going to Katie's point about pricing correctly, having staging, maybe painting a wall, being proactive on some of those repairs. Real estate really is a beauty contest. And people look in marketplaces like this, people look for reasons why not to buy your house, not reasons to buy it. And it pays to proactively overcome some of the objections. And sometimes it pays to leave them there and be a little bit more aggressive on your pricing, maybe meaning that you're more favorable price to a buyer.
Yeah, and I think too, if you are a seller and you had 3 different listing appointments with 3 different agents, you'd probably get 3 different strategies that they would advise you to sell, with which to sell your home. So it's very interesting too. You could, like I said, you could get 3 different opinions.
Yeah, I mean,
and have 3 different outcomes.
I could tell lots of different stories about that. I mean, I've been selling real estate for 15 years, and you compete against your peers, and you compete against people you don't know sometimes for listing opportunities. And what I've always told people is, I've been right as many times as I've been wrong. We're dealing in a marketplace, and a marketplace is variable. You know, you make a decision, you create a strategy, you go to the market with it. If you're wrong, there's a time to adjust. And that time isn't 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's based on feedback. It's based on the outcomes of other homes that potentially you're competing with. So, you know, my advice always is work with an agent that not only can, you know, share opinions and experience, but also that can choose, or that can share data, right? That can show you why. No 2 transactions are the same, meaning the motivation of the consumer is different. You know, someone might be highly motivated to sell and sell at a discount. Someone might be a really hard negotiator, and on the buy side, they have a really soft negotiator and they get a better price. You can't create the same outcome on every property, unfortunately, because we are dealing with people. There's times to say no to a deal. There's times to say yes to a deal. But when do you do that? And what's the statistical probability of getting a deal back, right? When not every home in the marketplace is selling. So with that being said, good transition to pending sales. Pending sales, we saw 2,379 pending sales during the month of May. If we look year to date, we have 2,949. This was by far the best month for pending sales, which is pretty normal. If we looked at pending sales on a chart, it would look like a bell curve in the Portland metro area. We're just coming into that spring and summer market where more people are active. Again, you know, it's a historically low number. We're trending in the last 30 years towards one of the lowest sales volume years. But I actually thought that was, really good news to see that there was that much activity. Again, 7% interest rates and 2,379 people went under contract. Now, some people might be going, well, half of those are cash. Not even close. Like maybe 20% of those are cash. The majority of people are still financing a home. The majority of people are still getting a loan. And that shows that like housing, it really is, everyone needs it. It's a necessity. It's something that people want. There was all these studies that all these new generations, they weren't going to own homes. And the studies say directly the contrary. And people calling us on the phone also speaks to the contrary. Like people want to buy real estate.
Yeah, and I think too, this sentiment has been discussed in our industry and with buyers and sellers. We hear buyers a lot of times say, well, I'm just going to time the market. I'm going to wait till rates come down and then I'm going to buy. And I think it's like this Dave Ramsey quote that is like showing up on TikTok and Instagram. And he says, buy your house now, and when rates come down, refinance. Because I think as soon as rates come down closer to like 6 or like high 5s, it's going to be mayhem again.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you're going to be competing with so many, a larger pool of buyers. So it's going to be a different environment.
Yeah. In Portland, statistically, we've had an undersupply of housing for 10 years. We don't have as many local builders anymore. It's expensive, but I think in 1990, people would look at home values and go, it was expensive. In 1995 and 2000 and 2005, it just seems like it always feels that way because, inflation, all these other things. Now, when we go to rates, yeah, I hope rates come down. Our industry very much wants rates to come down. Our industry is very loud about rates coming down. But who says rates have to come down? They might not.
They might not.
We might be dealing now with this as a reality. Now, one thing does happen when you look at the life of mortgages. People do have a tendency to refinance. When you lock in the price of housing, you lock in the price of, a monthly mortgage payment. That monthly mortgage payment does have a tendency to decline over time if people refinance and they don't mess with the balance of their loan, meaning they pull cash out or take an equity line of credit out. That's just something that naturally happens as you start paying down that debt. And there becomes a time period maybe to take that rate from 6 3/4 to 6. But, are we going to get back to the 2s and the 3s? It's highly unlikely because we were only there because of quantitative easing, which is what took us into this inflationary time period. So, maybe an unpopular opinion, and I'm not saying that to like trick people to go buy real estate, but
no.
as I've researched it, I just keep looking and going, okay, well, I want rates to decline too. Our industry has been saying it's going to happen for a while, and they just stayed basically between 6 and 7% for a year.
I just think I'm representing a buyer currently. One property we did not get because there were 3 offers on it, and it was a fairly expensive property, but there were 3 offers and we lost. I think about what if rates had been 6%, 5%, we might have been competing with 5 other buyers, 6.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to closed sales because that's a good transition. Closed sales in May, there were 2,008, which was a 31% decrease from the same time last year. That doesn't hurt the consumer as much as it hurts the real estate professional, right? That's not the reason I would say necessarily for, the market being where it's at. I do think that people got more favorable pricing when rates were lower, but we still have an undersupply of housing. We still have 1.9 months of inventory. If we look at from May 2023 to April, there was a 17.6% increase. So year to date, there have been 8,177 sales. That is not a lot. That is 4,000 fewer on average than what we experienced year to date in 2021 and 2022. But it is in line with the fact that we've also had fewer listings come to the market. So if you're a seller, yes, there's more competition on the market today. We talked about buyers have more options. Homes are selling slower on average, but there's lots of properties that are selling within the first couple of weeks and getting great pricing.
Yeah, agree.
And then there's people that come out way too hot, with too much ambition on price, not prepared for the market, bad photos, and then those are the ones that are taking the steep discounts.
And I think patience, when you're a seller right now, patience is a virtue. Maybe not expecting your home to sell in 24, 48, 72 hours. It might take longer, and that's okay.
It is okay. And actually, it's quite normal when you look at it historically.
Mm-hmm.
The 2021 market, the 2020 market that everyone wants to be back in, was not a normal market. It was incredible if you were a seller, but that window of opportunity has closed.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely okay for a home to take a month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes 4 months for a property to sell. I remember selling real estate in the Great Recession. Sometimes if we sold a house within 6 months to a year, we were like celebrating and thought it was fast, especially if they were a more expensive property. You know, it's time or price, right? If you want a fast sale, you can be really aggressive on price and you can take the price down and take the price down and take the price down. Or sometimes it just takes the right person to come along. We have a listing and it's in a particular price point that, homes have been selling. But there was just basically like a 3-week window where there were no pending sales.
Mm-hmm.
Price probably wasn't going to solve it because in this price band we looked like 100,000 over and 100,000 above. $15,000-$20,000 on that house probably wouldn't have made a difference. So that's where you just have to deploy patience and know what you have and hope, one of the neighbors don't underprice you if they want to come to the market. But that's also a challenge.
We've seen that too.
That's the challenge we've seen recently. Mm-hmm. But, what I would say is if you're, a buyer looking in the market, the right time to buy a house is when you understand the market, you understand what you're buying, you're willing to take on what home ownership is, because it can be a lot of responsibility. And when the right house comes along that you're ready for. I mean, it's not I have to buy tomorrow. The market's never that way. Even when markets are appreciating really quickly, you want to buy the right house. On average, people stay in a home for 10 years. So when we zoom out over any 10-year period, people do really well financially owning homes in the Portland metro area. In fact, they double almost every 12 years based on like a 30-year, study that we did. What would you add to that, Katie, for buyers?
I think just that, like zooming out, accepting the fact that the market doesn't look like it did a few years ago. We're playing a different game right now. It's imperative that you have experienced experts on your side, a great lender, a great agent, whether you're buying or selling. And if you buy an asset like a home today, it will appreciate over time. It might look a little bit like this, but I don't think many people regret buying an asset like a home. It's one of the greatest ways to build wealth.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that quote that success isn't a straight line up and neither is appreciation. There always is some variability to it. But, one thing we know for sure is nobody is good at guessing the bottom or the top of a marketplace. But over time, if we looked at a 10-year period, we're certainly not at the top. We're not even close. We're definitely at the bottom if you look at what history shows and tells us. How about let's just move to seller. What advice would you give to sellers other than pricing right? Because we already talked about that.
Yeah, definitely pricing right. I think coming to the market with a product that people want to buy. We have a couple listings, I think with the house, 3 or 4 homes down that also listed around the same time. So you still have competition. And when you're asking a pool of buyers to invest in this asset and pay a higher price per month than they probably were a few years ago, you need to come to the market with an intriguing product that's marketed appropriately. So I see some sellers doing things, even, I'm not saying everybody needs to do this, but like a pre-inspection, and I read in the listing remarks that a pre-inspection has been done and items have been addressed and things like that. Just those little like add value things, I think are important and could make the difference on how much money you net or how long your home sits on the market.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would just add that if you're a home seller, understanding the competition and not just the
Mm-hmm.
competition in your neighborhood, like we work the southwest suburbs a lot. And usually in the southwest suburbs, someone doesn't just say, I want to live in Sherwood. They look in Sherwood, Tiger, Tualatin, Wilsonville. Someone looking in Lake Oswego still usually looks in Tualatin or Westland. Someone who's looking in Tigard is looking in Beaverton and Sherwood. And in your price band, if you're listed for $700,000, what can someone buy between $600,000 and $800,000? And how do you look? A lot of people want to
Mm-hmm.
live and die by that comp down the street that sold 6 months ago to
Yeah.
someone who was willing to overpay, but they want to ignore the person who gave the deal. And the reality is, we're dealing in a marketplace with lots of different options. And you have to objectively step back from your house sometimes. And you, like, if you look at the language Katie used, treat your home like a product. It is a
Mm-hmm.
product. When we put it out, how do we look by comparison to the other homes? Why would someone come see it? They don't have the fond memories in that house that you have. They don't think it's better than all their neighbors because when they bought it, they chose this lot and they could have chose these three.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that fondness that homeowners often have. And, that can be a really difficult thing. This is why we think people buying and selling real estate need a guide. It's a very financially complex transaction, but it's far more emotionally complex.
Yeah.
It's people's home. It's where you're going to live. It's where you're going to make memories. It's highly emotional. And those emotions can create success or they can set you backwards. So,
Mm-hmm.
look, if you have been thinking about buying or selling real estate in the Portland metro area this year, next year, 10 years from now, I've been doing this for 15 years now. I'm for sure, I just turned 40. I will for sure be doing this when I'm 50. We'd love to help you. If you have questions, you can email us at hello@hillshirerealtygroup.com. If you want to see more videos like this, we do home tours, we do quick market analysis, we do long form market analysis. We're doing neighborhood tours. If there's neighborhood tours that you guys want to see, if there's questions you have about the real estate market, leave it in the comments. Like our video, please. It helps us. We're really trying to get like above 1,000 subscribers, so subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.